Hi Jonas, welcome to the ICC conference and exhibition here in Barcelona. Our viewers would really like to know what's your passion, what drives you, what brings you out of bed every day?
Well, I really want to make something out of my life, and also want to do things that is great fun, working with really fun people, but also trying to change the perspective of how the world is done, and defining and exploring new business models and doing the things that no one has done before. That's what really interests me, and rethinking the things that people have thought about.
When does a good idea become a real business plan, and how you drive it forward?
I think it's a process. First you need to have an idea that there's something you can do better. There's a problem that you want to solve, and then you iterate it. I talk with my friends, I talk with family, maybe throw together a prototype, you test that with users, you get feedback, you pivot it. So it's a process of constantly trying, am I solving a problem, or is there a real need? And then, can you put it into a business? Can you find founders that are willing to spend time and energy on it? Are you willing to find people that are willing to invest behind it? There's a lot of different things.
Yes. How do you rationalize the risk you're taking on a daily basis?
I think for me it's all about trying to de-risk. How do you get others to spend time, energy? What kind of milestones do you want to have to feel that you're comfortable putting in money, taking it to the next step? It doesn't have to be start here and end there. It's about what much money do we need to take it to the next step? What kind of momentum do we want to see there? How do you slowly progress it step by step?
What was the best advice you ever been given by someone who mentored you?
Well, I think I had the real luxury of starting to work for a founder called Jonas Kjellberg, just out of university, and he was, he drove a company called the Kinnevik Group, which was an investment company, which I later came back and did a lot of investments for. But he learned me to think, totally opposite. If the convenance is doing this is what the old industry is doing. Let's do something totally opposite. It's not about size; it's about speed. It's about constantly changing direction. So he had a mantra that, as a young, enthusiastic person just out of school, gave me a lot of advice around how to do business and how the guts to think different.
How do you define success for yourself?
I think for me, success is about the moment. I think people put too much emphasis on monetary success. For me, it's maybe getting someone on board, getting users that like it, that you have tried something you haven't done before. There's so many success perspectives in everything you do, so you need to look at every step and saying, did I manage it or not? But just trying is also maybe sometimes a success.
And how then do you cope with failure? Because that's obviously
failure is constant. Of every successful thing I do, I think I have 9 failures. So it's a ratio 1 to 10 of my successes. The rest are failures. So I think you need to understand, being an entrepreneur is about getting a lot of no's. It's about missing a lot of times. It's not making the shot. It's constantly getting up there and taking that next shot.
When you're constantly dealing with business ventures, is there also time to switch off?
Well, I think I'm a very switched on and switched off kind of person, so which is sometimes very disturbing for the rest of my environment. But I'm switched on, and then I want to know the details of every problem, and then I can switch off for a week or two, and then I'm back. So it's more about I have a very easy perspective of switching on and switching off.
Is that blurry between private and professional?
No,
life?
I think it's both private and professional. It's just a way to coping. But my mind is constantly racing, so it's more about saying, okay, now I'm switching off. I'm doing something else, and then I try to focus in the moment I am, and not being everywhere. So if I'm sailing, I'm sailing. If I'm working, I'm working. If I'm spending time with my kids, I spend time with my kids. Try to focus on what I'm doing, and not be somewhere else.
How did you face with skepticism when you were younger, and you had to go to bankers or angel investors to get investment?
But I think that happens all the time. I think all the investors in Scandinavia turned Skype down because they didn't understand, because we didn't have a business model. So I think that was a very clear perspective. No one understood the brilliance of that. I think even today, when I'm successful, I've done all of these things. Still, it's difficult to convince people that I'm brilliant and this is going to be great, because people are it's a built-in skepticism. I think people should remember that investors, they don't want to take risk, they want to de-risk, they want to guarantee
maximize
success. That's what their business is. So I think we get the wrong impression that people want to take a lot of risk with their money. No one takes risk. People want to bet in great successes. So you will always meet skepticism. I do it today.
And do you see now a difference when you're more senior, you've been around the block a few times versus when you're starting?
But I think it's also it's become more of an industry. 25 years ago, it was very few people that were entrepreneur. There was limited money, but there were also limited number of ideas. So I would say 25 years ago, it was even easier to get capital for your idea than it is today, because there's a big game today. There's like founders like myself that have been around that are 45, 50 years old that have X amount of unicorns in their belt, and then you have all the young guns that are coming up with their first idea and taking no prisoners.
Jonas, thank you so much for being here and taking the time to do this interview with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.